ETRetail welcomes you all and wishes all its beautiful women a happy Women's Day. To celebrate the women in retail, we have a wonderful panel with us today, and we'll be talking about women retailers leading the new age brands and how are they building those brands, how it is going to change the shape of the retail industry going ahead, and what challenges they faced, and a lot more. So let me introduce you to our beautiful panelists over here. So we have with us Udita, who is leading TrueBrowns. Then we have Harini Sivakumar, who is the founder of ETRetail. Shreedha, co-founder of TAC, the Ayurveda company, and founder of Clovia, Neha, Kant. Welcome you all. So from past 10-15 years, we have seen a lot of women are entering the retail space specifically and bringing their own brands, opening their new age brands. To be honest, prior to this, it was considered to be a very male-dominated society, retail industry. So what do you think has changed the industry perspective and why women retailers to be specifically, are entering the arena and bringing their own brands? So we start with you, Udita.
There's definitely a change in the way market is today. The country is changing. And for me personally, I think Falguni Nair from Nykaa, she led this pattern very, very clearly in India. And you know, her and then even from Pepsi and Ranui, these women have actually changed the way people have started seeing women in light of how they can run businesses. So I think that is, they are leaders of giant companies now, and we are following their path. And clearly there's a change in the country.
So what do you have to add to this, Shreedha?
So I believe many times you don't know what you're capable of till you do it. And this clearly is an outcome of the growing education among both the genders. I think parents who had kids in 80s and 90s have been sensitive towards the education of all genders. And which is, so by the time we grew up, although we cannot say that inequality doesn't exist in the society, I think this panel, we cannot negate that. But there was an increased acceptance, which you know will require, I think, few more decades. But there is definitely a tectonic shift in the level of acceptance of women in the industry. I think with educated women going out there, exploring different opportunities and avenues for themselves, and becoming confident that if somebody else can do it, why can't I? And especially in roles wherein the biological differences do not actively play a role. You don't really need a lot of physical strength to kind of be leading a business and all of those things. So I think more avenues are being created because of education. And secondly, I think it's women wanting to take charge of businesses and affairs in their hands. And we hope that this continue to grow in future also.
I also see a very bright future, to be honest. Neha, you started a brand, a lingerie brand, lingerie, which is considered as a very taboo word, used to be considered. So how does it feel to lead a brand which is into lingerie and being a women entrepreneur that way?
Well, you know, from your first question, when you spoke about that retail is largely being male dominated, I think it's not about that, but it's that media is now paying attention to women leaders. Otherwise, India has had amazing women who have started brands like Biba, Anita Dongre, Ritu Kumar, and these are all brands, Forest Essentials, and I can go on. So it's just that we are lucky to have attention of media now, but there are people who've done amazing jobs before us. And yes, lingerie has been a taboo topic, so much so that when we started in 2015, when Clovia was launched, at that time my own family or friends wouldn't go and put up a review on Google or Facebook, and any celebrity we would contact would, I think the first post we ever got was just the post of her box with celebrity's hand. She wouldn't even put her face in the same picture as some of the products showing. From then to now, today Shraddha Kapoor endorsing a Bollywood A-lister who's, you know, when you go Bollywood, then you become mainstream. The topic becomes mainstream. Going on TV campaigns, sporting our products, I think it's a big feat. Normalizing that conversation has been, I think, our biggest challenge as well as achievement.
So Harini, how has it been for you for being a women leader, running your own show, and managing an entire team, setting the tone of the brand? To be honest, that ways.
I think I find this whole concept very contradictory, right? My journey was of being a homemaker for about 7 years, never been to the corporate field at all, never worked. I still remember the days when I was, I think back in 2019, 20, when I was trying to raise the first round of funding. A lot of investors having doubts about women-led companies versus not having tags of the IIMs, IITs, and then funding a company. From that to today, people giving so much attention to women-led brands. It's so contradictory, right? But I think what stands out at the end of the day is that like Neha said, this has been happening for a long time, right? Right from politics, right from Indira Gandhi days, we've had women leaders all through, right? It's just that we are in the limelight now. To me, personally, I think we don't need more fancier names to our dictionary, more and more words coming to dictionary as womenpreneurs, mompreneurs, lipstick entrepreneurs, funpreneurs. We have too many names, and I think our dictionary is quite loaded. So I think we should stop with just entrepreneurs. And yeah, for me, the journey has been fantastic. I think I've come a long way. My life has come a full circle. Like I said, from being a homemaker to stepping out for the first time, starting my own company, leading a team. It's been quite a journey, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
So, being a woman entrepreneur, is it also a challenging job I mean, it's challenging managing home, managing office, managing the finances, managing the strategies. So what are the other challenges I want to know from all of you that you have faced while setting up the brand from here and taking it to some heights? So you must have faced some challenges on your journey.
If you are asking me as a woman, I think men and women have their own ways of figuring things out in corporate landscape. So, for example, networking or team building I've observed is different for me versus different from my male co-workers. So, I also have a child back at home. So, I almost cannot go for drinks and dinner parties. So, my method is always in office, weekly lunches. My method is quite different from others. And initially, yes, I think I would often feel a bit left out, or what should I do about it? But women figure out ways. So one example that I often give for people, not from my entrepreneurial journey, but from my corporate journey before this, is that once I was interviewing for a job. I was, I think, of age 28 or 29, been married for almost 4 or 5 years by that time. So the interviewer kept asking me, that you are married, you are bound to have a kid. So, and my business is at a stage where I need somebody to be more committed, and I was not offended, because at that time somehow these questions were quite, I was so used to it, I never thought that I should say, why are you asking me? And I kept convincing that person on this, that no, it's far off, or I'll be very committed, and I could see I'm not getting that job. And then therefore I wanted it even more. So I noticed that person has a lot of rings, money, and so on. And so I just thought, okay, this is the kind of person I'm facing. And I just said, you know what, I cannot go maternity way, because my Panditji has told me that it's not on my charts for another 5 years. I got the job. I got the job instantly. So I think women are great hustlers. And because we've grown up with these challenges where we know that how the world operates will not work for us, so we find our own routes. I think it's the same thing for my
And you got the job.
I got the job.
Did you join?
That I wouldn't say.
So Shreedha, any challenges that you faced on your journey of becoming an entrepreneur?
So entrepreneurial journey in itself is quite, it's brutal, I would say, for the lack of a better word. But yes, I think, when you are in your early stages, like Harini was mentioning, there is that unsaid tension in the room when you're the only one pitching. But yeah, over the years, the situations have been more accepting. The situations are improving, especially in the fundraise scenario. Also, personally what I have felt is that there is a notion associated with how a woman should be. And entrepreneurship requires you to be stern and look at the larger benefit and larger good, as opposed to trying to make everybody extremely happy all the time. So when it comes to those difficult decisions or calling a spade, I think there is this, which is not wrong, but at the same time, you can't be acting motherly or, all the time. So I think it's very challenging at times to kind of for people to admit that a woman can also be hustler and very cutthroat, ambitious, and there are usually that's this stereotyping that happens that if a woman overdoes something, or if a woman achieves a lot of things, usually we tend to have this imposter syndrome that the more we do it, the less we think we've done, which is not the case with the opposite gender, probably because of the way we've been conditioned. And I hope that the next generations do not have this. But sometimes there's this urge of always wanting to do more and more. I think one challenge that I feel young women entrepreneurs with no grey hair tend to face is hiring extremely senior male counterparts. So for example, if I am 26, 28, I want to hire somebody who has 30 years of experience, so to say. Jamta nahi hai. Sometimes they tend to feel that, and what I've seen is that if the male co-founder interviews the same person, they connect at a different level. So hiring for senior male leadership positions is something that from our side of the picture, it's not very difficult. You assess, and at the end of the day, the pointers that you have observed would tally the pointers that your male counterpart would have observed. But there is this unsaid notion from other side, I feel at times.
Okay, so the male counterparts aren't supportive that way, so the women entrepreneurs you're trying to say?
No. So male counterparts are absolutely supportive. For example, my co-founder is he's the biggest feminist that I know. But if you were to hire, and considering that we have started our retail channels, which runs in a very, which is a very men-heavy business. So if I were to go and interview, let's say somebody who, and had I not had this position, so right now they're working for me, so of course they'll listen to me, and they'll so what I'm saying is that the journey becomes slightly more churning and slightly more difficult when you are a woman and a young woman on top of that in a position of authority, and when you have to deal with the larger experienced males who have their personality solidified in their lives.
So these are the few challenges that you're talking about. So one challenge, one which I really want to explore about is the funding also a challenge for a woman entrepreneur?
At least in my case, I would speak for myself. I did not face that as a challenge. Today, I think the market has become very evolved, and especially for the new age brands that are around, which are women-led. The investors are very open to women founders. The challenge, I mean, it's a very different challenge that I faced. I'm the solo founder, so that's a different thing. So, there's a preference to have a two-member founding team. But from an investment point of view, I did not have that kind of a concern. But I actually agree to Shreedha at a lot of places. I would like to touch upon few of those points. Entrepreneurial journey in itself is challenging. It's a lonely journey. You need to be really, really persistent, determined from within. Women entrepreneurship in itself is a huge different ballgame. I remember back 5-6 years back when I started. So it's a network, right? You're connected. There's a supply chain. There's a vendor network. There is a sales network you're talking to. There is a partnership network that you're talking to. When you're going to vendors, I still remember there was this one time I was at a vendor's place, and as she said that you need to be firm at few times. You need to be expressing yourself what the right thing is. I had to listen to a line like this कि आपके फैमिली में कोई पुलिस वाला है क्या, क्योंकि आपके बात करने का तरीका बहुत पुलिस जैसा है. So no one would speak to a male like that, right? And people would continue asking me, are you the only founder? Are you the only person? आपका brother होगा business में आपके साथ, आपका husband होगा business में आपके साथ. So there are challenges which I would not shy away in saying it, because if we as women do not lead this, how will more women get ready for this journey? There are challenges clearly. the market is changing, India is changing, but it's going to take its own sweet time. So it's not just, I've also had cases where people, so my husband is also into fashion industry, so where people have just assumed ki, your husband would be running this and you are just you're just the face, you're just the name. I've actually had that so many times, people actually telling me on my face, and I'm like, please come to the office and then you'll know who's running the company. Yeah. So investment, not so much for me, but yes, it's women entrepreneurs have to have their own set of challenges. Yeah.
So Harini, as Udita said, that it's the women who have to lead the change going ahead. What sort of changes are you inculcating in your own team to end the gender disparity, to encourage more women leaders to come forward, and to see them growing going ahead?
I think the first and foremost thing that I, probably wanted my team to, learn was to stop stereotyping. I think that also comes from a fact that, as a woman leader, within my own team, like Neha said, I think I resonate a lot with Neha because stereotyping is something that has been like, inborn with women leaders, right? It's the other way around between me and Neha. I've never missed one single party, I go all outdoors. I have 2 kids. I have one special child who doesn't speak, who has a mind of 5 at the age of 12. But still, I don't miss anything. I go for every single, even yesterday night, I landed from Dubai. I went for an event. The first thing that people ask me is, who's taking care of your kids? Right? That's the first thing. I mean, you wouldn't ask that to a man who goes for a meeting, who takes care of your kids, right? But for me, the first question is always about my kids, wherever I go. And I think that stereotyping is acceptable because, come on, India is a country that has come through a journey where women have been, very close to families and stuff. So I don't get offended by it, but I think that's a stereotype. While Neha could be a mom who likes to be around the kids, while I might be a mom who likes to be outside the house, there's no right or wrong to it, right? So I think that's one big challenge that I have come across. And in my own team, I think that's one thing which I have made my team, go through it, that don't stereotype people, right? My co-founder is my dad, right? He's 65. My dad comes with this thought process that women should not smoke. Right? I have a women team who smokes in my office, right? So it's about right from my dad's age to train him to not stereotype people, right? So it comes, it's not like, how do I tell you? It's about, times are changing, generations are changing, right? I am in my 30s, mid 30s. I deal with 20s and I deal with 50s and I'm 65 as well, my own dad. So, so there's a lot of, stereotyping that happens within the organization, and that's one thing I think if we can cut down and see people as people, irrespective of their age, their gender, their type, I think we are all in one place.
True, I second your point. I mean, women are no way behind the men in any which ways. So Neha, what sort of changes are you bringing into your brand to make sure that women leaders come forward from your company also?
At work, you mean? Do you mean at work?
Yeah.
Okay. So I agree, gender biases are deep-rooted in our psyche now. And it's not just men, even women have gender biases with respect to what they themselves can do, cannot do. A lot of, and it's difficult to go past those barriers. There are some very obvious kind of barriers that women have been able to start working, etc. But that also I feel has not yet, spread out across the country. So there are, and at Clovia we have, it's a large team, so we have people coming from all walks of life and all economic classes also. We have 300 plus women staff who are standing at different counters across the country and selling the products. And we have these leaders who are, very well educated, different pedigree altogether. So I think the only one thing, like you said, is that you insist that no bias is catered to. So for example, there are jobs that require you to do traveling, and then often HR or the manager would say, I need a guy on this job. So that's when you put yourself down and you say, okay, I'm also a mom. And one rule I have in my life is that I minimize travel and, like I said, nighttime, because that's the only time I get with my son. I try to spend there. So, but despite that, I say that you put put out the job description out there that this requires you to travel 10 days, 15 days, or even 30 days through the year. And let's see if women apply. If they apply, then give them their due credit and interview them like that. But don't just exclude them right from get-go. So those kind of, that's what you keep speaking about. And I think one thing also I've noticed is that women tend to look up to each other. Like you said about Ms. Nair, we all look up to her and so on, so many people. So I think when you are out there making a lot of changes and work-life balance, it's not that you let the life take a back seat. A lot of younger generations, they take cues. I'm careful like that I put out the right example and right messages out there.
So I must say that the younger generation is getting a great training under all the women entrepreneurs. You guys are the great women entrepreneurs, to be honest. Here on the panel, we have diverse women from diverse sections, like diverse categories, to be honest. So you are leading women wear brand. You are for lingerie. You are into beauty. You are into Ayurveda. Right, so which are the retail categories where women are actually leading and which are going to pick up going ahead? If I have to start with you, Udita, about this thing, I want an answer from all of you on this thing.
I don't think there's a specific category where we would say that this is the category where women would shine. I think it's more about the overall sentiment of running a business that is there. So, in my opinion, there is no particular category I would say that this is where women would do well and this is where men would do well. I mean, I don't know what you guys feel about it, but that's what I feel that, I mean, if you have the, if you are up for the challenge to build a company and you have the sensibility for the product, for the market, then that, I mean, as long as that fit is there, then it doesn't matter which category. So for me personally, I don't see any particular category or an industry where women would shine and where men would shine. So no demarcation for me like that. It's all out there. So yeah.
So Harini, any thoughts on the same?
I think, see, we've seen phases, right? There was first retail, which was more offline. Then came D2C with a big bang boom. Now D2C is again seeing a fall, a slight, a dip in D2C. I think it's a circle, right? Irrespective of what you do, whether you're in fashion, beauty, lifestyle, whatever you're doing, I think what matters is today, if you have the ability to, reach your customer directly, irrespective of what you do, even a service-based business, I'm talking about things like, Physics Wala, who really cracked it in the recent times, right? Even service-based business, even those, if you have the ability to reach your customers faster and, convince them, I think you have a winner there, right? I think what matters at the end of the day today is consumers are very powerful, thanks to our social media, to our internet, Times Now group, So, it's very powerful. So, which means that the ultimate goal is the faster you're able to reach your customer, the more successful you are. I think that's what matters at the end of the day.
Shreedha, would you like to add something to it?
So I think the categories where women will be successful in future are the categories where women decide to. In addition to the external and systemic changes and developments that have been happening, right from education to bigger organizations having a diversity agenda with the HR and top leadership in terms of inclusion, in terms of diversity and all those things, to internal changes wherein women are now taking charge of being in the front seat and not always being backstage and in supporting roles. So I think when this external and internal kind of comes together is when a woman kind of rises, and this is not just in entrepreneurship. You see, personally, I don't like the term women entrepreneur because you don't say male entrepreneur, but okay. So whether it is the corporate ladders, higher ups, leaderships, or it is entrepreneurship, it is when a woman decides to, because this journey is more intrinsic than extrinsic. Externally, there are a lot of challenges that I think male counterparts would also encounter. But at the end of the day, being a woman and having tens of things, so they have their own struggles. Males have their own struggles. It's not that their journey is absolutely clean. either. But when a woman decides that she needs to kind of overcome all those battles and challenges, is when a woman succeeds and she'll be successful in the category that she decides to.
To be honest, a different category you are leading. So do you have to add something to it?
I think I can say from my category perspective that any entrepreneur, their chances of success become slightly better if they are also the consumer of that product, because a lot of our journeys would have begun from our personal experiences, at least mine began like that. So from that perspective, but what category is that women don't use? I mean, from tech to service to, like you said, different, so I don't think any particular product you would leave out from, you know, it's not like you can't exclude women from any category today.
True that women are shining everywhere. It's true. Shreedha, but I was very impressed while I was talking to you before this panel when you said you are leading the supply chain, you are leading the finance part of the business, which is more related to the men in the society till now. So how does it feel to lead that part of the business in the organization?
So I don't know, first of all, that who made it men-centric. I don't know. And when you don't hold baggages in your life, and when you don't have any other option but to kind of like put yourself into it and not just dirty your hands, but kind of dirty your entire body in entrepreneurship, you have to do it. Like Harini was mentioning, she was a housewife for 7 years, and then look at the kind of a brand she's built. Kudos. So, you know, I think it's again very internal, very intrinsic. So right from your motivation to your inspiration to your control to your emotions, there is so much of chatter outside. If I keep listening to you know, what the naysayers are telling, that supply chain is supposed to be you know, led by a man, again, you know, I might start feeling that, oh, will I be good enough, will I do this or not? Instead, play on the strengths. And I think partnership in this scenario is very important. So usually co-founders have complementary skill sets, you know, for it to turn out to be a beautiful partnership and a successful partnership. So instead of saying that because you're a man, because you're a woman, you should kind of fit into these kind of societal roles that have been destined on you, I mean, that would kind of set you up for failure. So rather play on your strengths. Who's more analytical, who is more who is an extrovert, who likes to kind of deal with the finer details. And I enjoy it. I thoroughly enjoy it. And I'm not doing it just because, you know, I'm a rebel and I want to undo whatever has been, you know, stereotyped against women. Nothing like that. Just because I think I can do it better. And when you start up, we usually don't have the right backgrounds. I mean, many of us, I'm not sure if we come from the topmost pedigree of the country, at least I don't, and Udita mentioned she also doesn't. The thing is that, you know, you at the end of the day are in the school of life and you're learning on the go. So when you're learning on the go, उसमें ऐसा नहीं होता है that when you start with 3-4 people, 5-6 people, and you have to do all the things by yourself, and you learn over the course of time what skill sets are you good at, and then you just keep building.
No, this is what I actually tell my generally people on my team, and I say that, you know, intent होना चाहिए करने का, और अगर intent है तो आप कुछ भी कर सकते हो life में. So when we started the company, or when I started the company, I did not know I had to do 100 things. I knew maybe only one. वो 99 आप करते हो तब भी, तो क्यों वो इसलिए हो जाता है because you have that intent from within. So completely agree with Shreedha here that the intent is there, then anything is
I think till
possible.
today I'm the one who repairs machines in my factory. For the records. So the huge machineries that you see, when there is a jam, I'm the only one who repairs it. So I think it's just again another stereotype. I think that, and like she said, one point which is very, very stark and clear is that we learn on the go. One example is, I still remember my first few sessions with investors, trying to impress them. Was, I seriously didn't know what CM1 was, CM2 was, gross margins was, what composition made CM1, what is GMV, what is NRV, nothing. I did a crash course with my dad to understand what is P&L, how does this work, how do I explain this to them, and I still remember going for one investor meeting, and they asked me what's the gross margin, and I said something wrong, and the whole hall was laughing at me. It's a learning curve, right? I mean, obviously it was funny for them, but for me it was a learning curve, right? But then I think what matters here is that we all come through that journey. At the end of the day, we're jack of all trades and master of one, not none. So we're master of something, but we're jack of all trades at the end of the day.
True that we have, so women, being a woman, me also, I have also learned a lot while being on the job, to be honest. So when we have learned so much while being on the job, getting our hands dirty that way. So I want to know one more thing, how bright is the future of women entrepreneurs going ahead? Okay, entrepreneurs who are women. How do you want me to put it, Shreedha?
A friend who's a girl, but not a girlfriend.
No, it's I think a very good time to be a woman. We don't see any male entrepreneurs sitting here getting so much of media attention. I think it's once you break the glass ceiling, the country, the overall right now, people are there to award you. I mean, I'm putting it brutally out there, but that's in the sense that there is a slight reverse gender discrimination also that I see these days. That happens. And it's okay. So many years, you know, it was opposite. So it's fine to face a little bit of that. But I think it's a great time to be a woman. People have come to understand that there is a different view, different perspective that you bring to the table. There's a different way of handling things that even if you are a homemaker, you've learned to juggle many things. You're an engineer at home, and so you bring in those kind of skills. So I think bright to answer your question.
Shreedha?
So I think on the contrary, I think there is a cost to not having women in the entrepreneurial ecosystem, because imagine what the world would miss out on. You miss out on so many new perspectives, ideas, creativity, you know, innovation, and what, I mean, I can't even list down the things that people would miss out on, and it'll be a very monotonous, very monochrome kind of a journey if only one gender and either of the genders were leading it. I think entrepreneurship is not just for the entrepreneurs. When a successful startup gets created, it impacts the entire ecosystem directly and indirectly both. There are so many external stakeholders that are associated directly and indirectly, and then there are consumers, whether you're in a product or a service business. And just in case, worst case scenario, if entrepreneurs fail, then there is so much of learning that happens. So in both the cases, what I think is that I think all the genders, and not just males and females, but other genders also. I mean, we have about 65 to 68% of our population, you know, in our company is women, across all strata of society, across age groups, across leadership positions, and at all levels. We're also proud to, I mean, I am personally proud to mention that we also have the third gender working for us. So I think when you cut down on, when you filter down the options, you only end up with very specific narrative which you would like to hear, which I don't think should be done. So to me it looks amazing, you know, a world wherein both the genders and, you know, all the genders in fact, you know, grow together, because upliftment of one gender does not mean suppressing the other. So it has to, growth happens together, right?
So Harini, would you like to add something to it?
I think they've summed up quite a lot. I just stopped by with some thought outside being women entrepreneur and, you know, trying to break the stereotypes and stuff. As a woman itself, we hear male actors, female actors. We hear male doctors, female doctors. Do we ever hear for homemaker, male homemaker, female homemaker? No, we don't, right? I think that's something that we need to break. There's only housewife. Is there a house husband? No. So I think these are things which are larger problems that we still need to look at. I think woman entrepreneur, to me, is just a very, very minute thing. I think we need to look at larger picture and stop stereotyping them. I think that's where I think more emphasis need to lie.
Udita, closing remarks from you?
It's very bright, and it's the ecosystem today is right to actually take that step for all the women who are wanting to enter into entrepreneurship. So it's a very conducive environment. As people have started, we have seen a lot of women making a huge mark. We have a lot of new age brands, women-led, making a mark. So there is a huge resonance today in the industry, in the market, with the business world, with the society, within your family, to actually believe in women leading companies. So the future is very bright. We need to be very confident, trust ourselves, believe ourselves that we can do it, and actually take that step. I think what we really need to, this is the only thing that we need to do today is take that step if we want to do it, because the environment is definitely conducive. So and it's the right time to build our dreams.
As rightly said by a panelist, that the thinking is changing. I mean, the women leaders are bringing change in their companies, and there are many opportunities which are opening. So we must see a lot of new entrepreneurs, women-led brands coming into the foray, and women's leading the leadership positions going ahead. I would like to thank all the panelists for their wonderful time, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Happy Women's Day to everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.